Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are calling in from today. Welcome to our Shaman's Directory live community event. I am Trisha Bennett, and I'm one of the founding members of Shaman's Directory, and it is my honor to be your host today. I want to thank you all for attending and welcome you to say hello in the chat and to settle in wherever you are and create a little bit of a sacred space for yourself for our presentation today so that you can be in a peaceful, relaxed place to receive all the wisdom and knowledge that will be offered. For those of you who don't know us, Shaman's Directory is an online global platform for shamanic earth-based services that is inclusive to original people, First Nation healers, and modern day shamanic practitioners. We are a nonprofit created for healers, teachers, clients, and the curious to offer global access to shamanic healing and teaching and to support this great time of transformation that we are all a part of. Excuse me. As we are a growing community, we welcome you to become part of us and to unite with us in service. You can visit our website at shamansdirectory.com and join our newsletter, join our community at the bottom of the homepage, where you will be invited to other events like this, and you can stay updated on everything that's going on at the directory. And you're also invited to check out all of the shamanic healers and teachers there and to make an appointment if you are called to do that. So today we have a beautiful guest with us. We have Shayne Case, who is an ancestral storyteller and teacher of the Indigenous wisdom that lives within all of us. And we are delighted to have her here today. And I'm going to let Wake do a little bit more of an introduction for all of us. So welcome, Shayne, and welcome everyone. And I'm excited for the program today.
Thank you so much. It's great to have you here, Shayne. You're a mother, a medicine person, a writer, and a storyteller in the oral tradition. You've dedicated yourself to listening to the languages of nature to reclaim your ancestral stories. You're of mixed race German and Minikanju Lakota lineages, and you're an enrolled member of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe and currently residing in Portland, Oregon. In addition to your one-on-one healing practice, you also lead Under the Eagle's Wing mentorship program, in which you help people reconnect with their own cultural heritage through direct teaching, meditation, storytelling, and experiential learning. Open registration for the 2024 program is now available. Your passion work is the Toki Amani Win Project, which aims to make medicines from native plants at sacred Lakota sites and distribute these medicines to Indigenous people and those who are needing them. Again, Shayne's topic for today is ancestral storytelling and meditation, reclaiming wisdom through connection. Hello, Shayne.
Hello, thank you so much, Trisha and Awake, for inviting me here. And thank you to those who could come and are open to being told a story and maybe even open to hearing your own story in a different way. And I see that there are some four-legged in the picture too. So welcome to the animals and ancestors and spirits that are with us today. I am going to start with a little bit of purification. If you have a tradition that you like to use, then you can do that as well. But I am going to burn a little bit of ceremonial sage and offer that to you. This plant was harvested on tribal land where my family has been living forever. We'll start with calling in the directions. I'm going to face the computer because it's the best way for the mic to work, but I invite you to either turn your body in the directions that I call out, or you can also find the directions within your own self. So if you don't feel like you want to turn around, you can just find that within yourself. Make sure I'm not going to burn down my house. There we go. All right. I like to start with the breath, like the wind. So if you haven't had a big breath today, let's just do that together. That's the one way that we can share resonance over land and space and time and over Zoom is by sharing a breath. We'll first turn to the east, where the sun is rising right now for me in my location. Spirits of the east, ancestors of the east, where the sun rises, where we learn about renewal, breath, inspiration, where we go when we have questions that we cannot answer for ourselves, where we ask for guidance. To all of our winged friends, thank you for seeing us. Ancestors and spirits, we welcome you to this time of storytelling today. Then you can move your body or your attention to the south direction. For me, that's right behind me. And see if you can just notice your body temperature right now. And notice if there's any heat somewhere in your body. And if you cannot find the fire in your body, you can always just rub your hands together to create a little bit of fire. We're going to call upon the ancestors of the south, but they are also at the hearth of fire. So we'll breathe in, calling upon that fire within ourselves. Great spirits and ancestors of the south, we are so grateful to be here with you. We ask for you to join in this time of storytelling, to warm our hearts, to invite in the illumination of what can be learned from these stories and from our own stories. This is the time of our adolescence, the south direction, the fall, where we're discerning what rings true for us and what doesn't. So as we move into this time of sharing story, I want you to just come back to yourself and ask yourself, is there resonance here? Is there something to learn here? Or is this the time for me to push back and for me to look inside myself and question? Then you'll know that you've been sitting with the ancestors of the South. Thank you, ancestors of the South. Welcome. We'll turn our bodies or our attention to the direction of west. I can hear the ancestors of the South saying, we're summertime, we're not fall. There's a trickster, some coyote, some heyoka in the house today. So we'll just welcome that in too. Those are good storytellers, the coyote. So we'll come to this west direction. This is the season of the fall, the autumn. We're in the west energies right now. So breathe in, feeling the water within our body. This is our emotional state. Spirits and ancestors of the west, welcome to our global hoop. We're here to listen to your wisdom, to open our hearts, our water, our emotional bodies, to receive the stories that are to be told today. This is the time of transformation in the West. We come into our adult selves and then we question, what is the purpose here? What is the transformation? How do I find my own medicine in this time, in this body, in this location? So we go to the ancestors of the West to sit with them and to listen. Thank you, ancestors and spirits of the West. Welcome. And then we move to the north. That's the physical body, the earth, the ancestors of the buffalo people, whom we'll be calling shortly. This is the eldership, the winter. Great spirits and ancestors of the north, for sheltering our bodies, for giving our spirit shelter in the bone house of our bodies, for providing us the food, the seeds, the earth, the trees, the stones, so that we could practice relationship as our human selves. We are so grateful for your being, presence with us in this greater hoop today. Welcome. And then I'm going to stay on screen, but you can either put your belly on the ground or curl your toes to feel the ground beneath you. Maybe even put your fingers down towards the ground as an act of honoring. Unchimaka, Mother Earth. Mother Earth, who holds us unconditionally, providing us the cradle when we are born, giving us the gravity as a reminder that no matter what, we are always held. We are here to listen to stories, but we are also here to listen to you. How can we become better stewards of your care? To honor you, to love you, and to open further to receive your love. Mother Earth, we are so grateful. Thank you. And then we will either reach our hands up towards the sky or feel that directionality in your body of the great Wakantanka, great spirit, great sky, celestial bodies, our celestial ancestors of our beginnings, the protectors, great spirit. Thank you for witnessing us, protecting us, seeing us even when we forget how to see ourselves here. Thank you for giving us the reflection in still bodies of water to remind us of the whole when we lose sight. Welcome, Great Spirit. Now you can just put your hands to your heart. Remember this, you, your heart, your care, your tenderness, your wisdom, your worth, your lovability. We need to honor that in this hoop. So you can just take a breath in. And I know you're on mute, but we'll just say it together. We'll say, I'm going to say, I welcome myself to the hoop, Shayne Case, and then you will say your name, okay? So 1, 2, 3. I welcome myself to the hoop, Shayne Case. Thank you. Wapila, welcome. It is much easier to tell a story when you're telling that story with the spirits and the ancestors speaking rather than just my memory. So sometimes the story sounds like maybe something you've even heard, but sometimes the story takes on a whole different feel. And that's because when we are with the spirits and the ancestors, there's a lesson to be learned in the moment. This is I don't know what time of day it is where you are. It's first thing in the morning where I am. And I don't mind a story with cookies and tea first thing in the morning or middle of the day or last thing at night. Any opportunity that I have to be told a story, I'm going to take it. So wherever you are, if you were in my house with me, I would offer you some tea and some cookies and light the fire so that you could get cozy and just listen to a story. So I want you to imagine that for yourself. Of course, if you're driving, don't imagine that quite yet. Wait until you've stopped driving. But I do invite you to make your bodies as comfortable as you can. You can even lie down. Sometimes I tell the story with my eyes open, and sometimes I tell the story with my eyes closed. So you're not going to miss anything if your eyes are closed or if you're laying down. As long as you can hear my voice, that's all. Or if you are using I think you can use the um, captions, right? You can put on the captions. If hearing my voice is not an option for you, then just read the closed captions and be with the story more than being with the visual. That's the invitation for now. I'm going to start with the story. A long time ago, many moons ago, before your birth and the birth of your mother and her mother's mother and her mother's mother, there was a time when the earth was barren, when the ground was cracked with dehydration, for the rains had not been coming. And they hadn't been coming for so long that even the most resilient and strong plants had become skeletons rolling around on the earth, moved by wind. The trees had fallen, not enough water. The animals had died, not enough food, not enough water. And the wind could not find anything to make music with, for everything had fallen back to the earth in bone, in rock, However, there were a few people, a few two-legged left. So when the winds came down off the butte, they would sing in the hair of the people. But the song was the same. Listen, why aren't you listening? Listen, why aren't you listening? But the people had forgotten how to listen. They were in their minds, they were trying to fix a problem. They were so hungry. I'm so hungry, they said. Why are our animals dead? Why are the plants dead? Where is the water? Why are you punishing us, Great Spirit? They said. But the winds kept coming, rattling through their fingers, between their legs, in their mouth. And they heard, listen, why aren't you listening? Listen. But they couldn't listen. They forgot the language of listening. And then the one that was supposed to be leading had a dream. We don't know if this dream was an awake dream or if it was a sleeping dream. But in this dream, something inside of him said, do you remember that time where your ancestors knew the language of the plants? Something inside of him said, do you remember that time when your ancestors knew how to talk to the animals and listen to their stories? Something inside of him said, do you remember the time when you knew the language of your ancestors and you listened to them? And he woke up in a fright and a sweat. It was more to him like a terror of a haunting of the past than it was for something that he could hold in this moment. So he went where he knew to go, back to his head, back to the way in which he thought he could figure out this problem. So his mind said, awaken the 2 hunters that are left and send them out into the prairie and tell them, don't come back unless you bring us food. That's what I'll do. He had these thoughts because he was terrified of his dream. He forgot what it meant to listen. So he roused the 2 hunters who were so tired, so hungry, who only had the dried salt on their skin as a memory of tears. And the chief said, go, don't come back. You will find this food for us. And the 2 hunters said, oh, I can't even see. I can't even see. How will we find the food? I can't see anything. Because you'll find it. So the 2 hunters, they were young. They had very little vitality left, but they had enough to shuffle their feet against the ground of dust. And they walked and walked and walked. And at first there were mirages. Do we see buffalo? Tatanka? Who is that? But no, just a wish, just a desire. Do we see a dust storm coming our way? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it is just our wanting. But the wind came back, blowing through their hair. Listen. Why aren't you listening? And then the dust storm came closer. And then something glowing in that dust storm. Listen. Why aren't you listening? And then the two hunters stopped and said, walk in, sacred woman, somebody's here. And one of the hunters said, I am delirious with my desire. This is not true. And the other hunter said, look, her hair, it's so long and shiny. She's eating food somewhere, must be. And the other hunter says, but my desire, I want to consume this vision, even if it's not real. So he goes towards this Wonkin woman. The other hunter says, don't touch. This is a sacred being. The hunter says, no, this is a dream. And in this dream, if I'm dreaming, I'm going to get what I want. So he goes and he tries to embrace the woman. But the clouds rise up again. And then they fall calmly and gently to the earth. And the hunter that stayed back sees the woman so clearly. But where's his friend? But a pile of dust bones in front of her. Oh my gosh, he says, no, don't hurt me. I'm sorry. I didn't touch you. He says, I'm not here to punish you. Your friend had a completion of his dreams and his desires in this lifetime. It's complete. He says, but I have come for you and for those who you come from. So I want you to go back to your village and I want you to tell your people, get ready. I am coming. I am coming. He's like, well, we don't have anything to get ready with. She says, you'll know how to get ready. Just go and tell them. So this hunter has all of a sudden a lot of energy. His friend is a pile of bones, dust really, and this beautiful woman is in front of him. He runs back. Where he shuffled before, now he's running back. He runs back and he tells the chief, I saw sacred woman and she told us to get ready. She's coming to help us. And the chief looks around. They have been huddled together, trying to survive. He says, get ready for what? So he looks around and he dusts off. Oh, I remember we took these rocks from the earth as decorations. Maybe this is a good thing to put in the center of our space to make it beautiful. Oh, we'll do that. Oh, look at these feathers we plucked from the birds because we just liked the way they looked. Oh, maybe we can put that in the center of the circle too. Oh, look at, there's a little piece of plant that we picked one time because we thought the flowers smelled good. And now there's just some fluff here. We'll put that in the center too. That's our preparations, they said. And then sure enough, she came, this great spirit. She says, I see your suffering. I see that you're scared. I see that you forgot how to be together. I see that you forgot your belonging. I see that you thought it was really nice to gather all the stones from the earth and put them in your shelters, admiring them and showing your neighbor, look at what I have. I know you forgot the medicine of those stones. I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to see the suffering and to help you. I know that you lost your original instructions. And at that, the chief said, what instructions? I was not born. with anybody telling me what to do. Yes, I killed the animals for sport. Yes, I harvested the stones from the caves because they were beautiful and I wanted to make my neighbors jealous. Sure, I put a bunch of feathers all around my house because I liked the way they looked. But nobody gave me original instructions. She says, they were in your blood the whole time. It's not your fault that you forgot how to hear them. I'm here to help you. And I'm going to give your people 7 ceremonies to help you remember. And she had this beautiful bundle. And she started to unwrap it. And in the unwrapping, there was a chanupa, sacred pipe. And she handed it to the chief and showed him how to use this pipe in order to connect back to the spirits and the ancestors, their prayers, so that they could learn again the things they had forgotten. Then she went and showed him the other 6 ceremonies as the places to go to practice the listening of the blood, of how to belong to the earth, and how to be with each other in places of safety and peace, creativity and connection. And so all of the people there, they listened with their hearts open. And as she started to finish her lessons, her teachings, she walked into the prairie. And they watched as she left, as the land became verdant again. And the mosses grew, giving way and food for the plants to grow, for the trees to grow, for the birds to come back, for the caterpillars to come back, for the four-legged to come back. And then in the meadow, she turned into the white calf of the buffalo. We call her White Buffalo Calf Woman. She has been the story of the Minnekoju and the Lakota for our direction of how to come home. And those 7 ceremonies are practiced sometimes, some of them more than others within my own community, but we are also in a time of forgetting again. And when I first was told that story, I was in my late teens. Remember, we talked about the south direction of your adolescence, where you kind of like believe some things and other things you say, no, that's not true. You know, you have to have that discernment time. So I listened to the story when I was in my adolescence, and I thought, yeah, what do these stories have to do with me? These old stories. Nobody's turning into a white buffalo. That was my attitude. And I have been in the pursuit now, in my beginnings of my eldership, of reclaiming these stories that have been lost through genocide. So I am the descendant of the survivors of the Wounded Knee Massacre. My ancestors are dead. They were murdered. And luckily, my 19-year-old great-great-great-great-great-grandmother, Tokia Manwani Win, survived. And the way she survived is because she wore her baby on a cradle board on her back. And when she was shot at, that bullet, it went through her baby and it landed in the cradle board, saving her life, but not the life of her baby. And because of this millimeter of space between an instrument of death, a bullet, and the space of that wood of the cradle board that saved her, we were allowed to continue this ancestral line. The Minikoju are also the people that hold the bundle of the Chanupa, the original bundle that was given to us by the white buffalo calf woman. And so I wanted to tell you a little bit about the medicine story, my medicine story. And then I'm going to invite you into listening to another story so that you can wander through your own blood to hear your own story of your ancestors. And look, my mama is a white German lady. You know, my daddy is a Lakota man. I understand that there's many stories in our blood from many locations, from many histories. And I also know that there is an ancestor of yours who will speak louder than the others today. And you'll just listen to that story. We'll meditate together at the end. So I wish I could say, oh, I was given all of these Lakota stories from my dad, my grandmother, and the elders in my community. But the truth is that my dad and my grandmother and my great-grandmother were all put into residential schools. And it was forbidden to speak Lakota, the language. And the stories that live in their bodies are stories that are very difficult for them to tell. They are stories of loneliness, abuse, desire to die, most of them, and a separation from what they knew, and also a craving was put into their belly for what they didn't have and were told that they couldn't have. So my ancestors, my recent ancestors, are hungry people. They eat a lot. And they're very overweight with their grief. And it's hard to sit with them and get a straight story about anything. They'll talk. Lakota like to talk. We talk a lot. We tell a lot of stories. But there's a difference between the stories that are told to hide pain and the stories that are told to be able to be with the pain. And the stories that were told to them, my aunties, my dad, they started to be the stories of Jesus because missionaries came and told them that if they wanted to survive, they needed to follow these stories. So there's a confusion in my family right now between the traditions, the traditional stories, and the Christian stories. And sometimes some of my cousins, they don't want me to listen and tell the stories and go to the ceremonies because they say that's not walking with Jesus. And that's okay. It's okay. I know that they are still surviving in the ways that they were taught. and that is important to them, and I honor where they are at. The thing is I was the first to be born off the reservation in my father's lineage. And I was born in another country. I was born in Deutschland, in Germany. And nobody there was telling me what to think. Nobody there was telling me that I needed to do this thing in order to survive. So I had a canvas in front of me that was blank. And sure, I had my mom and my stepfather's Puerto Rican, who's actually indigenous to Neo. He's indigenous Puerto Rican. They have lots of stories, but I never listened to them. I mean, I listened to them, that way where you're like listening one ear and out the other. I listened to them, but I knew that the stories that were the stories that I needed to remember, I just knew that they weren't going to be able to tell me those stories. And so as a really young child, I started to listen to plants. I would go way out into the woods or way out into the prairie because I was between the reservation and Germany, going back and forth. And I would spend the majority of my time. I say I was a feral child, and I really mean that. My parents were teenagers when they had my brother and they were too busy learning how to be adults to tend the children. And so my life was a life of experiential learning. Yes, I licked the poisonous mushrooms and ate the plants that I didn't know yet would make me sick or not. That's how I learned. And my company was anybody and everybody that was living. I had trees that I would go to and cry my eyes out and say, I'm so lonely. I moved to 15 different schools in 12 years. I had no chance for friendship. And so I always found the biggest tree in the neighborhood and hugged that tree. And then I'd wait and see who loves this tree too. And then the birds would come, and then the spiders would come. And then I would see the little creepy crawlies that I didn't even know their names. And I never tried to know their names. I would always ask, what's your name? And sometimes they would say, Albert. And sometimes they would say, butterfly. And that's how I learned. That's how I learned. And it was this playfulness, this permission to not have to know what the books were going to tell me, that gave me a sense of relationship. There's a word we use in Lakota, mitaku ye oisin. It basically means all my relations. All my relations, my first language was not with the human people, but with the plant people, the rock people. I'll tell you, I made lots of rock circles as a child, and I would sit in the middle and I would say, I'm going to tell you a story. And they would listen, they would be my audience. And I would say, you need to listen to me. Stop talking. I played this way. And it was fun and it was meaningful. But then I entered into a time in which it was very clear to me that my teachers and the educators were wanting me to memorize things in books. Books that smelled like mildew and armpit. I hated those books. I didn't want to read those books. But they taught me, in order to feel a value and purpose in the world, you need to know the things in these books. And I wanted to feel important. I wanted to feel worthy. I wanted to feel like somebody valued me. So I started learning the things in the books, but only a little bit, just like I listened to the stories that my mom and my stepdad told me. That's how I listened to the stories in the classrooms, one ear and out the other, but just enough to take the tests. And then I got myself into an Ivy League school, people. I don't know how some scrappy res kid did that, but that's what happened. And I went to this school where everybody knew a lot of things and nobody knew how to listen to the trees. Everybody knew how to talk in a class about exegesis and things like that, but nobody knew how to listen to the language of the water. And I was like, wait, what have you been learning? So I tried to fit in and I tried to say things like, I read in a book that the water says. So I learned how to mask my knowledge by saying things like, I heard in an interview somebody from Harvard said, and then I would say the thing I knew. Did somebody from Harvard say it? I don't know. Did I read it in a book? Definitely not. But I had in my mind, in order to be worthy, in order to be believed, in order to have value, in order to know my purpose in the world, I had to couch it in this thing that I started to realize that people outside of the reservation in America valued and trusted. As intellectuals who minds brilliant, minds of the heart absent. And so I spent some time doing that, going to schools. I would never, besides my undergraduate, I went to a lot of graduate schools, and I would then stop right before graduation because I had this adolescent rebellion and attitude where I would say, I don't want a colonized institution to tell me my worth by giving me these couple of letters after my name, before my name. I don't want you to tell me my worth. I don't want other people to think I have some wisdom to share because I have letters before and after my name. And so I'd go to all these programs to learn because I was still trying to figure out my value in the world. But I knew enough to not let my heart be colonized by these systems of education. And that's not to mean that's everybody's path. It's not a judgment. It was just something alive in me. And so then I ran out of money. It wasn't even my money. It was all borrowed money, by the way. Scholarship money, this money. I never had any money. But it ran out and I couldn't go into school anymore. And then I had a real crisis because now I have all this information, but it kind of crowded out the information of listening. I was spending so much time in books. I wasn't spending time in the forest. I wasn't listening to the stories. I don't even know where my rocks went. So I got sick. I got a mysterious illness. Do you know how many doctors I went to and how many tests they took? They gave me so many. You know what? This is what I learned. If you go to enough doctors and take enough tests, eventually they just give you antibiotics. Antibiotic. They want to kill something of your biology because something is not working. And so I got that. I did not get better. And I laid there in my room on the third floor of an apartment in Portland, Oregon, so far away from the trees, so far away from the plants, so far away from the rocks. And I just laid there until I heard over my right shoulder a wind. Listen, why aren't you listening? Listen, why aren't you listening? And I was like, well, I have nothing else to do but listen. And so I started to listen. I started to listen, and I listened for a couple of years. I just listened. I was very poor, but I was not poor in my heart because I was listening. And then this strange thing happened. I had a therapist, and I told my therapist, I'm losing my mind. I said that. But this strange thing happened. People started knocking on my door. I mean, we're talking like I'm in my early 20s, skinny as all nothing, because I've been hungry in a barren land. And CEOs were knocking on my door in their high heels and their pantsuits, looking incredibly knowledgeable and saying, I heard that you could help me talk to my spirit guides, my spirits, my helpers. I'm lost. This is my therapist telling people to come to me. I was just like, I don't know what you want. And I don't even have the furniture that's going to make you want to sit on anything I have with your nice linen pantsuit. But you can sit on my floor with me. And I didn't know what to do. I did what my therapist did. I was like, I'm gonna make you some tea. I was so scared. I didn't know what these people. I was like, look, all I've been doing for 3 years is listening. Like, I don't know. And I would just sit these people down between my like little couch and my little VCR. I'm old, y'all. And I would like light this candle because I saw that on like Hocus Pocus or something. I was like, people light candles when they talk to spirits. I didn't know what to do. I just lit a candle and I poured some tea because my therapist did that. And I sat, I was like, well, I can listen. And as soon as I did that, I would tell them, don't tell me anything. I don't know why you're here. I was so afraid. I didn't even ask their names sometimes. I was just like, I don't know why you're here, but let's just listen. And then I would see things just like when I was listening for myself. I remember this first person, she was like the CEO of Intel or something, and she came and she sat. And I remember what I saw. I just told the story. I said, these beautiful bird has come from this tree. This horrible thing happened, and this little bird is coming up. And I told her what the bird said. She's crying and crying and crying. And then I said, okay, you have to leave now. She never said a thing to me. And she left. And then her friend comes knocking on my door. Hi, can you? And she tells me, oh, my friend came and said that you helped her talk to her son who was in a car accident. His car hit a tree and he died. And she said that you helped her talk to her son. It's like, I don't know. I saw a bird. I told her what the bird said. She said, can you help me? And then now, 25 plus, I don't know, half my life, people are still knocking on my door. I never told anybody to come to me. Not once. Not once. I never said, hey, I'm going to try this thing out. I wanted to be a writer. But here I am telling you the story of how people came to me. I am a writer now, but I am also a storyteller. And some of those stories are mine to tell, and some of those stories are told through the spirits of those who come to me. I have seen thousands of people from all over the world. Not one time did I put a shingle on my door and say, come. Eventually, somebody did make a website for me because I guess I'm in the modern ages and that's what happens. But I just trust that I'm here to tell stories and listen to stories. One of the things that I hear, one of the stories that I hear often is, how do I find my purpose? Or why am I on this planet? Or how do I connect to my guides? Or how do I know who my ancestors or my medicine were? Because I don't, maybe, maybe some people are adopted or they just don't know uh, beyond, their mom or their grandmother or whoever. They don't really know their traditions. Maybe it's been 2,000 years since they've known their traditions. And people have these questions. And I have a story to answer the question. Do you want to hear another story? Are you with me? Are you like So what I just told you is two stories. I told you first the ancestral story of White Buffalo Calf Woman, and then I told you the medicine story of a little bit about me. Now I'm going to tell you a story. It's called a answer story. Okay? So I want you to hold inside your heart some question you may have. Okay? And this story, it's going to move into a meditation. So again, get yourself comfortable. Close your eyes if you want. You might feel dizzy if you watch me during this one, because when I tell the answer story, my body rocks like this. And if you have motion sensitivities, you'll start to feel a little dizzy. So I'm going to say, close your eyes if that is your situation. Okay. And you can stare at me if you want, but there's nothing interesting going to be happening with my face. So don't worry, you're not missing out. Okay. Okay. You got your question in your heart? You want to know something? You have a question? You want to know something? Okay. All right. So this story, it requires some travel. And I know that you're coming from all over the world, and I am so honored to be here with you. And I'm so grateful that I get to, for this moment, travel with you souls. But I tell people all the time who come to me that somewhere one of the spirits uh, got me a very long baby blue stretch limo that can fit all the people that I ever sit with in. So I'm going to invite you in your imagination to leave the home that you are at right now, or the shelter or the place or wherever you are, and come and have a seat in my baby blue long stretch limo, because this limo can take us somewhere. So yes, get knee to knee here, all squished in. This is a place where we can share the breath and we will all be safe. And this vehicle will take us to a place in a time somewhere. And when it lands, it will be somewhere different than you are right now. When the door opens, the first thing you'll notice is that the earth will feel really solid underneath your feet. And you will smell the aroma of sagebrush. And you will hear this water flowing. And you will feel the warmth on your skin telling you that this is late spring, early summer. And you will notice that this sun, it is very warm. And you want to take your socks off and your shoes off. And you want to put your feet in this water. This water, it feels so good moving between your toes. And if you put your feet in just a little more, you can squish your toes on the muddy banks of this river. And here we'll sit and we'll breathe. And if you want to lay back on the earth, you can, because there are other sounds here. First, you'll notice there are children laughing and playing. And every once in a while, you will feel the splash of cold river water on your skin. A child has jumped from a tree limb into the water in fits of giggles. And you will hear the rustling of the gatherers nearby, talking story, singing, laughing. They are gathering the berries, putting them in their beaded pouches. You hear the deer-skinned feet on the ground near you. And then you hear the high pitch of a shrill voice cutting through the sky, a call to Great Spirit for permission to go on a hunt. You look over your left shoulder and off into the distance, you see the hunters are on their horses, asking Great Spirit for permission, asking the Buffalo Nation for permission to feed the people, to make an offering. And you feel the earth beneath you trembling with the hooves of many four-legged. And all of this is making you feel quite tired, peaceful, content. Your muscles relax. In this moment, you are safe, nourished by these sounds, by this water, by this sun, and you fall asleep. And you sleep there for a while until, seemingly from a great distance, you hear shashasha, shashasha. And you start to move your fingers a little bit and you say, oh, it's getting chillier. Without even opening your eyes, you can tell that the sun is starting to go down. The light on your body is dim. Shashasha, you hear. And now more voices are coming in. Shashasha, with a little bit more urgency. Shashasha, where are you? Where are you? So you sit up and you look and you notice all of the gatherers and all of the children. They're now in the faint of the light, searching. And the hunters have come back. And now too, their voices join in. Shashasha. And you can hear and you can feel the urgency. You can feel the prayer in their tone. Shashasha, where are you? Where are you? And this goes on, and you feel like you should get up and look to for Shashasha. Who is Shashasha, you wonder? And then the night has arrived, and a singular voice is heard among all the other voices. Come, Come here. I have found Shashasha. And so you too move from where you've been sitting and you join the crowd. And in front of you, you expect to see a child. But instead, there is this bush, this red twiggy bush. What is this? You wonder. And that is also the wondering of all of the people. But the medicine person is standing there saying, I have found your beloved Shashasha. He is here. And the mothers, they gasp. What? And the medicine person says, our beloved Shashasha has given their life to transform into this plant, into this tree that will grow here and create seeds and grow all along the banks of any river anywhere. And after the last thunderstorm and before the next one, we will gather Shashasha, the twigs, and we will shave the inner bark and collect it and dry it. And then we will take this bark and we will put it into the chanupa. And we will smoke this plant, chanupa. We will smoke this plant, Shashasha, in our chanupa. Because it brings us together and it reminds us that when we are in need and we have forgotten our way, when we have a question about our purpose, why we are here, how to be with the land, how to know our ancestors, how to remember, how to listen, Shashasha is offering us the body for eternity. And then all of the people, they come close and they feel the limbs of the child they once knew, soft and kind. And they feel the limbs of the new Shashasha, soft and kind. And with their hearts, they open up. And each of them takes a twig, peels back the red outer layer, the skin, to reveal the tender within, a curl of inner bark, and they blow on it, and it dries, and then they offer it to you now, and you put it in your hand, and you wonder, but can I have this? I am not Lakota. I don't know where my people are. Can I have this? And the people, they nod. They say, Shashasha is for everyone, for you to remember too. So you put the Shashasha up towards your heart. And instead of having a chanupa, you realize your whole body is the chanupa. Your whole body is the sacred pipe, and you breathe in the smoke. And that smoke is a guide that draws you back through time in your own lineages, all the way through until you see your own village. Maybe you come from a village of people in the north or the west or the south or the east, or maybe you are from below, or maybe you are from above. but you come from somewhere. And those beings, no matter how far back you go, they knew something about how to be in relationship with all beings. They knew how to listen to the plants. They know how to listen to the water. They knew how to read the sky and the celestial ancestors. They knew how to put their ears to the earth to hear the turning of a season. And that they gifted you in your own blood. With your hands to your heart, listening deep, watching behind your eyelids to see who comes to teach you now. And allow it to be whatever it is to be, whatever form, whatever color, whatever sound, whatever smell, whatever taste. Hold it and breathe. Pull the wisdom from your deepest marrow into your heart that knows, into your mind heart that is in the center of your being. And squeeze yourself back into my long baby blue stretch limo. Breathing with your ancestors. Breathing with the souls that are listening to this story now. Let yourself be carried back to your home, the place in which you are now sitting and listening. Let your ancestors come with you as we turn ourselves to the north in gratitude for our bodies and the remembering of the stories from the rocks and the stones, people, of the plants and the trees and the seeds, and Shashasha. Thank you, spirits of the north, for hearing us and being with us. And moving to the west, to the water, for the muddy river, for teaching us how to be still enough to listen through the emotional landscape of our forgettings. Come back to us. We promise to listen now. Thank you, spirits and ancestors of the West, and turning our bodies to the south, to the sun inside, to the fire of illumination, to the rebelliousness of your own teenage self who didn't know that you have the medicine story that you've been looking for. Great spirits of the South and ancestors of the South, we are so grateful. Thank you for being here with us. As you move your body to the east, the sounds of the birds beating with the song of the wind, carrying back to your ears. Listen, you can listen now. Listen, you can listen now. Thank you, spirits of the East and ancestors of the East, for being here with us and feeling where the roots of the Shashasha moved from the human child into the roots of the red willow to grow on every river bank, in every land, to offer the prayer of connection, the poetry of the in-between, of how a spirit can articulate through one human body the purpose of your medicine. Mother Earth, thank you for holding the children of ourselves, for the children of this whole world, for reminding us the languages that we have forgotten. And now open your hand where you've been holding shashasha. We also call that native tobacco. And blow to transform that bark into smoke. Here is the prayer. Great Spirit, thank you for finding the ancestors who will be our mentors, to teach us the ways, to teach us the songs, to be patient with us as we remember the language of plants and water and trees and birds and deer, as we remember the language of our relationships and our belonging, as we are here listening to all humans everywhere. Wopila. You can wiggle your body, your toes, your fingers, you can wiggle your hair to come back into the here and the now with me. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, and for being willing to listen even deeper. If you have questions or you would like to share who you met, who you brought back with you from the trip in my little baby blue limo, you can tell us the story or ask the questions. We're here for just a bit longer before we finish. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shayne. That was gorgeous.
Shayne, I just feel like you have such a deep process, a series of processes to offer, drawing on your own listening experiences throughout your lifetime. And as you've said before, providing a container so we may explore our own. I think that's such a gift, to be able to use what is yours and your experience and awaken our own. I just feel like this is a strong beginning
Mhm.
and a deepening into greater awareness, greater connection, greater ability to be in communication with what's all around us. I feel like you have such a gift. And on behalf of myself and Shaman's Directory, you're doing exactly what the vision of the directory is all about, is bringing our medicine forth.
Mm.
I really appreciate what you're offering here. And many ancestors spoke, and I feel like you've opened a portal,
Mm.
not only for myself, but for other people, to take our own ancestry with heart and with openness, and this beautiful focus on listening. I,
Yeah.
I, I so appreciate your work.
Phil Maye, thank you. I uh, am also somebody who loves to listen, and I love the stories that people tell. And it is, I think, a practice of telling the stories, but also for me, it is a gift to hear other people's stories. And there's a few ways that I practice that. Um, One is I have this mentorship program called Under the Eagle's Wing Mentorship Program. It's a month experience where we actually walk the 7 directions, listening to our ancestors, practicing in community. Sometimes it's harder to practice by ourselves because our minds get really busy and want to tell us things, and we don't know yet how to put that to the left and allow the other beings present to speak from our right. So we do that in practice of being together. And that's one way that I practice in community, listening to people's stories. The next cohort is actually starting in February, and registration is open this week. This is going to be in Portland once a month and then online throughout the month because people do travel from other places to come to be. We'll be in the forest for doing ceremony 1 day a month. And then we do things like this where we get together and we talk story and learn from each other in co-mentorship. And that way we don't feel so lonely or so crazy for the things that we're hearing. And sometimes our ancestors like an audience, so we have to have a container for that. If that's something of interest, of course, you can reach out to me and we can talk more about that. But the other things I want to say is that always invite people over to your home and share a meal, and don't watch a movie, but listen to each other's stories. Or, go on a walk together and just listen to whoever's around. The chipmunks, they are so talkative. Just listen. And at the end of your walk together, just say, what did you hear? This is the way we practice. You can, if I live in a very urban environment right now, but if you look, there's always a plant ancestor talking. You just have to say, who's here for me today? If there's a hurt in your heart or you've got a back pain or something, open your door and say, who has medicine for me today? And just go towards what you feel pulled towards and just be there. Don't try to use your mind. Don't try to name things. They will tell you their names. It's a very fun and playful thing, so don't get too serious about it, okay? Yeah. If there's any other questions for me or comments, then please feel free to ask them. Otherwise, I think we're at our time.
I think so too. Thank you so much. And I feel like it's such a beautiful, first of all, I have to say, I've never gone on a journey in a baby blue limo.
Yeah.
That was really great. It got me right away. I thought, wow, this is new. So that's beautiful. That's a beautiful invitation. And then to be taken where we were taken and introduced to sacred tobacco in that way. And, just reminded that just stepping out the door and breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's right there.
Right
Right
there.
here. It's right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here. And we hope to see you again soon at another Shaman's Directory Live event.
Blessings to you all. Bye-bye.